All right, so now let's move straight into this morning's heard submissions. And we've got Nick Clark from North Canterbury Federated Farmers joining us remotely. Nick, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Hope the technology is working well. And we look forward to hearing from you now. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Nick Clark and I am Policy Manager at Federated Farmers of New Zealand. I'm based in the Federation's Christchurch office. I'm making this submission on behalf of the North Canterbury province of Federated Farmers. The vast majority of Federated Farmers members within Christchurch City reside and farm in the former Banks Peninsula district. We'll be lodging the province's written submission in advance of the closing date on the 29th of June. But in the meantime, happy to make some points in anticipation. In April, we made a written submission to the Council's original consultation document released prior to COVID-19, and we stand by the points made in that submission, particularly the need to ensure the Council focuses on delivering its core functions efficiently and effectively in a challenging economic climate and seek to significantly reduce the proposed rates increase of 4.65%. Turning to the updated draft annual plan consultation document, I'll focus on addressing the key matters on which the Council has asked for feedback. With respect to the overall rates, average rates increase, it's good that the Council has managed to find around $23 million in savings and to borrow more so that the preferred option is a smaller rates increase of 3.5%. Thank you for listening. 3.5% is certainly better than the other two options proposed, but from a ratepayer perspective, we would prefer a lower increase. We note the Council looked at a zero increase and a 2.99% increase, but rejected them. While noting the comments about increasing debt and potentially reducing levels of service, we'd like to see those rejected options put back on the table. We believe a less than 3% increase could be achieved by increasing borrowing a bit more while remaining well within the extended debt to revenue ratio and by finding further savings in what is a very big budget, nearly $500 million operating expenditure, less finance costs and depreciation. Regarding levels of service, most of the economy is having to live in a new reality and focusing on their costs and doing things differently as a part of that. Local government and indeed central government shouldn't be exempt from this, and we support calls to improve the management of contracts and improve consent processes. We're unconvinced about claims that increasing spending by large amounts will do more for economic activity than allowing ratepayers to keep more of their own money to spend in the economy. Apart from spending on infrastructure, local government does not have the ability central government has to quickly stimulate the economy through its fiscal, taxation and monetary policy tools. Property rates are simply not suited to the task, and hiking them during a recession is, we believe, counterproductive. If it is considered useful for councils to increase their spending to stimulate the economy, the best way to proceed would be for central government to do more to funnel its funding through local government, and central government has a lot of money available, $50 billion in its COVID response package. The government's shovel-ready infrastructure program is potentially helpful, and the council, I'm sure, is working to ensure Christchurch gets a fair share of funding from it. On the other matters consulted upon, we support the council's proposal for an excess water use targeted rate. In fact, we'd go further and suggest the council should look to move over time to a volumetric water charging method for recovering all its water infrastructure costs. We also support the council's proposal to increase the use of weed killers containing glyphosate where appropriate, and we endorse the comments made in the consultation paper, but won't go in further because I know we're running out of time. Finally, with regard to strengthening communities fund, we strongly support the contribution to the city made by community organisations, including those in the rural areas like Banks Peninsula, but we're also concerned about rates impacts. On balance, we'd probably prefer the amount to remain unchanged, but if it is to get a one-off increase, which we wouldn't be opposed to, that increase should indeed be one-off, and it should be funded through further cost savings found elsewhere in the council's budget or by borrowing a wee bit more. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That's left time for a question, if there is one. Sarah?
Kia ora, thank you very much for coming in digitally there. Just a question on the desire for us to borrow more to be able to lower rates now. If we're borrowing more for what's effectively their operation expenditure, so the groceries, if you like, rather than the mortgage, we will have to pay that back, and so ratepayers will still have to pay that back with interest over the next few years. Is that something that you think's worthwhile doing?
Look, at the moment, with interest rates being as low as they are, and basically the unprecedented time we're in at the moment, I think it is reasonably prudent to do that and spread those repayments over time, over the next several years or so.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Aaron.
Just wondering if you'd had any feedback on the substantial increases in the residential rural rates.
Yeah, most of our concern is from the remote rural side of things. That's where most of our members are in Christchurch City. So we haven't had any sort of feedback on rural residential. We tend to get more feedback on the remote rural side of things, and we note that there's certainly the rates increase for remote rural is higher than the average, and I suspect that's probably also the same for those rural residential as well. And that's another reason why we're keen to keep the overall rates increase down as much as we can.
Thank you. Nick, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning. Great that we were able to use the technology to bring you in remotely. Thanks very much indeed for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Really
Thanks.
appreciate it.